Open enrollment season, am I right? It's
Mm.
like this big looming thing, especially if you're, running a small to medium-sized business. The paperwork alone, ugh, and then the costs, always going up. And don't even get me started on trying to help employees understand all the options.
Oh, you are definitely not alone there. It's a huge pain point for businesses that size. But, what if I told you there might be a better way? A way to maybe even simplify the whole thing and get some pretty cool perks while we're at it.
Okay, now that you've got my attention, I'm all about finding those hidden advantages, especially when it comes to something as potentially painful as open enrollment. What are we talking about here?
Well, have you ever considered a PEO?
PEO, like professional employer organization, right? I've heard the term, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what they actually do. A little refresher would be amazing.
Totally, totally. So basically, think of a PEO as teaming up with another company that becomes like this extension of your HR department. They handle a lot of the stuff that can really bog you down. So we're talking payroll, helping administer benefits, and this is huge, especially these days, making sure you're on top of all the compliance stuff.
Oh, tell me about it. Compliance, that's the stuff that keeps you up at night, right? I mean, between healthcare rules, employment laws, it feels like the ground is always shifting under your feet.
Yep, exactly. And that's where this whole co-employment thing comes in that PEOs do. I know it sounds kind of, I don't know, maybe a little scary at first, but it's really not that complicated. Basically, the PEO, they become what's called the employer of record for your employees, but
Yeah.
it's mostly just on paper, especially when it comes to stuff like, payroll taxes and some of the insurance stuff.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm with you, it's like they're handling the behind-the-scenes HR stuff,
Yeah.
but I, as the business owner, I'm still the one calling the shots for my company, like day-to-day, all the big
Right.
decisions.
Exactly. You're still in the driver's seat. It's more like you've brought in like a really specialized pit crew to handle a specific set of tasks. Those tasks are really important, don't get me wrong, but they're often really complex and take up a ton of time that you could be spending on, actually running and growing your business.
Okay, I have to say, you're making this whole PEO thing sound a lot less intimidating and a lot more interesting,
Yeah.
especially with open enrollment season breathing down our necks. So we know these PEOs can be a big help with HR stuff, but let's talk about open enrollment. I think a lot of business owners, especially smaller businesses, they feel kind of stuck, right? Like they want to give their employees good benefits, but they also can't go totally broke doing it. So how does a PEO, how does that change things?
That's such a good point. And honestly, I think that's something that keeps a lot of businesses from even looking into PEOs. But you might be surprised to hear this. A PEO can often help you offer even better benefits, even if you don't have a ton of wiggle room in the budget.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Getting more bang for your buck. Tell me how they pull that off.
Well, it's not magic, although I get why it feels like it sometimes. It's all about leverage. Imagine this. Your company, let's say you've got maybe 50 employees. Suddenly, because you're working with a PEO, you're part of this much bigger group, maybe hundreds, even thousands of employees. And that, my friend, that gives them some serious bargaining power when they're negotiating rates with insurance companies. Kind of like getting those VIP discounts just by being part of the club.
So it's like my little business suddenly gets to play with the big dogs when it comes to benefits. That's huge, especially these days when everyone's trying to, attract and keep good employees.
Exactly. And don't forget the expertise these PEOs bring to the table. They've got whole teams dedicated to this stuff. They're all over the latest regulations, so you don't have to be, which means you're covered on compliance and you can avoid those nasty penalties. It reminds me of this one construction company I worked with. They were looking at some pretty hefty fines because of issues with OSHA regulations.
Ooh, yeah, OSHA is no joke, especially in industries like construction, where safety is so important.
Totally. And this company, they were just having a hard time keeping up with all the latest rules and everything, and it was really starting to impact their, bottom line. But once they partnered with a PEO that specialized in construction, everything changed. I mean, the PEO came in, did a whole risk assessment thing, set up new safety training, and even helped them negotiate better rates on their workers' comp insurance, saved them a ton of money, and probably more importantly, made the workplace safer for everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It shows how a PEO isn't just about, checking boxes and following rules. It's about really supporting your business and making things better for everyone.
Totally. It's all about working smarter, not harder, right? They handle the stuff you don't have time for, so you can get back to what you're actually good at.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here, but for anyone listening who's still on the fence about this whole PEO thing, are there any other, success stories you can share that really show how much of a difference this can make?
Oh, absolutely. One that comes to mind is this tech startup I worked with. They were around, I think, 65 employees or so, and they were dealing with, that classic problem. Their health insurance costs were just going through the roof. Every year is like getting hit with this massive bill,
Mm.
and it was really putting a dent in their bottom line. Not to mention making it tough to like reinvest in the business and really grow the way they wanted to.
Ugh, yeah, that's something I think a lot of our listeners can relate to. Insurance costs are brutal. So what do they do?
Well, they finally decided to give the whole PEO thing a shot, and they found one that really understood the tech world, their specific needs and challenges. And I gotta say, the results were kind of amazing. They were able to cut their overall healthcare costs by a quarter.
Wow, 25%, that's huge.
Right. But here's the best part. They were also able to give their employees a way better benefits package overall. It was like a win-win for everybody.
That's what it's all about, right? Not just like surviving open enrollment,
Yeah.
but actually using it as a way to improve things for your company and your team.
100%. And the cool thing is how flexible this model is. You can apply it to all sorts of different industries and problems. Like, I remember working with this retail company, and they were really struggling with, seasonal hiring. Every holiday season, they'd bring on a bunch of temps, and just the HR paperwork alone was insane. It was like a mountain of paperwork.
Oh, I can only imagine. Retail during the holidays, you've got to be firing on all cylinders.
Right.
Any little snag can throw everything off.
Tell me about it. But once they started working with a PEO, they were able to streamline that whole onboarding process. I mean, the PEO took care of everything: payroll, benefits, even making sure they were, following all those labor laws. It really freed up the retail company to just focus on what they do best, selling.
This has been super helpful. I feel like we've really painted a good picture of what PEOs can do. But now let's talk directly to our listeners. The ones who are right here with us, maybe feeling that open enrollment anxiety creeping in.
Time to bring it home.
Exactly. If that's you and you're listening to this, ask yourself, are those insurance premiums eating away at your profits? Are you having a hard time attracting and, even more importantly, keeping good employees because you can't compete with the big guys on benefits? Are you just like overwhelmed by all the HR stuff, worried you're going to miss something crucial and end up in trouble?
Those are all pretty good signs that it might be time to at least look into a PEO to see if it's a good fit. Because at the end of the day, it's about working smarter, right? It's about getting some of that time and energy back so you can focus on what really matters, building your business.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's important to remember, like any business decision, partnering with a PEO, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about finding that perfect match, which means doing your research, really digging into what different providers offer, and honestly, being really honest with yourself about what your company needs to thrive.
Exactly. But for those of you who are ready to take that step, who are tired of feeling like they're, always behind the eight ball when it comes to HR, imagine this. You've got this whole team of experts in your corner guiding you through all the complicated stuff, helping you put together those amazing benefit packages, and just giving you the peace of mind to focus on what you do best. That's what a good PEO partnership can do for you. And that's what we all want, right? Building a better business and a brighter future.